All right, good evening. The Rancho Public Schools Board of Education meeting for Monday, July 22nd is now called to order. If all would please arise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Board Member Beth Miller will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, JC will take a roll call for us.
President Galbraith,
Present?
Vice President Morgan,
Present.
Secretary Tyler,
Present.
Board Member Tripp,
Present.
Board Member Miller.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Awesome, thank you. I would like to welcome everyone out to our meeting tonight. It's crazy that we're getting really close to school starting. In some ways, I'm crying a little bit, but it'll be great. So we'll start tonight's meeting. We have some introductory comments by our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Visu Cleveland.
Good evening, and thank you all so much for being with us this evening. And yes, we're on the countdown. It's about 2 weeks till the actual start of school, and our teachers are back on the 29th of July. So we're really closing in on the start of the next school year. I would encourage folks who are listening, who are here, if you have not completed registration for your students, really hope that you will do that. All the schools are open, available for registration, and hope that you will get that done in advance of the school year. It's always so much harder on the first day. There's so many things happening. And if you can come earlier, that just makes it easier for everyone, including the student. This is our calendar. Our teachers return on the 31st. August the 1st is our 30th anniversary, and we'll showcase the video. And it will be at Rio Rancho High School in the Performing Arts Center there. And then following that will be a reception for Carl Leppelman. So everybody is invited, and hope that you will make it. We have Jump Start for grades 6 and 9, and I think most everybody knows what that is, but it's an opportunity for those students that are making a transition into another grade level to have a chance to go through the building, find their classrooms, kind of get that jump start before the first day. We have very large schools at the middle schools and high schools, and so giving those students an opportunity to kind of learn the ropes before the first actual day just seems to lower their stress dramatically. So we look forward to welcoming our 6th and our 9th graders. And then unlike in some years past, everybody will start on the same day, and that will be August the 6th. So first day of school, all levels, August the 6th. We have some folks who are going to speak to you this evening a little bit about Vision 2024, the National Conference for Student Council Leaders. And the board is wanting to commend Rio Rancho High School Principal Mian Baca and Activities Director Chris Salas for the outstanding job that they did in hosting this national event. I was over there, and I just want to also say how wonderful the facilities looked. And I know that the facilities crews put a lot of extra time and effort, but that building just looked wonderful. And so it was a very warm and welcoming environment for people who came. I want to especially thank all the students who worked that event. It was in the summer. Some actually were seniors who came back to help, but you could just see it was just a well-oiled operation, and everybody had things in place. And I'm always amazed when you bring that many folks from out of town, all over the country, and how everything went smoothly. So really wanted to commend you. Remember when the students first came and asked if Rio Rancho High School could be the host, and first thing you think about is, do you really want to? Because it is just so much work. But it's such a wonderful opportunity too. And I had a chance to talk with some of the other delegates from other states. And it's just a great opportunity to network, to share ideas, to grow professionally and personally. And so we want to honor you for that hard work. They will be sharing just a few highlights of the event, and they will introduce some of the students who are in attendance as well. I think we have a video clip that will be shown before you speak, but I thought was just wonderful. I wanted you to have a chance to see that as well.
There's the video. You
Okay, that's the link. So we can do it now. We can wait until they want to speak.
Student leaders, advisors, wranglers, ranch hands, and cowpokes, welcome to Rio Rancho and the 2024 Vision National Conference for Student Council Leaders. 9 years ago this month, Rio Rancho High School hosted the 2015 National Association of Student Councils National Conference with the theme, Elevate Your Leadership. Nearly a decade later, Rio Rancho is proud to once again open its doors to the nation for Vision 2024. Lasso your leadership in the wild, wild west. Now, keep it going for your Rio Rancho hosts, Ariana Unoki, Victoria Thompson, Dory Coe, and Ethan Ruzman.
Okay. It was just. Okay. I just thought it was great. And all students there seem to really enjoy it. And it's just something was different. And there's a few snapshots from the event. And I believe, well, you can share that later, how many students were there and the number of states that were represented. Okay. We will have a pre-K expansion committee meeting coming up. There will be an update regarding the pre-K expansion committee, and it's going to be presented this evening by Janice Chenault, Elementary School Improvement Officer, and Jerry Reeder, Executive Director of Special Services. And in the fairly near future, we are wanting to bring in some speakers who will be invited to address the board as well as the committee. They have been recommended by the Secretary of Early Childhood, Elizabeth Grzinski, to come in and talk to both groups. So we'll be setting a date for that fairly soon. And then they will also present you with the timeline so you can kind of have an idea when certain things are planned to happen and when we will have hopefully a report to give to the board. There will be a survey that is planned for parents, and it will be distributed through Beth Pendergrass's department. Looking at the community, we'll primarily be surveying parents of elementary age children to see if we can locate parents who have children early childhood programs and get their input on some of the suggested plans. So we will be talking with parents in the community, and we will be getting back with you, but you will have an update this evening from the two co-chairs. Right. And then on an RFP, you will be asked to approve RFP 2024-27 facilities, RRPS warehouse expansion. And that is to provide some additional record space. We are now 30 years old. And as a district, and we need more room to store student records. So they'll be talking a little bit about that. Michael Madrid, our Director of Finance and our Chief Procurement Officer, will present it. This is a pre-engineered metal building, and as it will be used to expand and modernize our current records storage, which is too small and outdated. I remind the board we have a legal responsibility to store those records and keep them safe, and we're just running out of room to be able to do that. And then we'll have an executive session immediately following this meeting. So I think it's going to be
is for the Vision 2024 National Conference for Student Council Leaders. So we'd like to welcome up, it looks like Chris Salas is coming up, our activities director, and also Mian Baca, our principal for Rancho High School. I'm really excited. That's awesome that you guys did that. It looked like it was wonderful. I'm excited to hear more about it.
All right. Dr. Cleveland, members of the board, thank you so much for this opportunity. Dr. Cleveland's right. We met about a year ago and we weren't sure if we wanted to do this, but the kids were 100% sure that they wanted to do this. And the work that we do, as we know, is about them, about students and their growth. And so I want to introduce some of our students who have joined us today. So the Associated Students of Rio Rancho High School, there's members from Associated Students who are here if they want to stand up. And then, as you know, these things don't happen with just one group. And so we also had support from Key Club, Rio Rancho High School Key Club, and the Native American Student Union, as well as the Hispanic Student Union. When our guests arrived at the opening night event, a rodeo, they were greeted with fry bread from the Native American Student Union, and then some green chili cheeseburgers from Owl Cafe. So we started them off really right, on the right foot, and the rest of the conference went amazing. I'll let Mr. Baca tell you about those details.
Thank you, Mr. Salas. Madam President, Dr. Cleveland, and members of the board, I would ask that we offer our deepest commendations to this incredible gentleman here, Rio Rancho High School Activities Director, Chris Salas. This National Vision Conference for Student Council Leaders was a 3-day conference from student councils from all across our country. Through a lot of planning and great communication with others, Mr. Salas was able to get over 550 students and 150 adult advisors here to Rio Rancho High School to come to this conference and have young adults hone their skills relative to leadership training and networking. The national conference was a giant endeavor, and I really give Chris all of the credit for this. I did very little other than tell him, go ahead, I trust you. My facilities department and the custodial crew did a really, really wonderful job making our campus look beautiful. I've never seen the grass that green. I did get a phone call from a woman who lived across the street, very concerned that there was a horse on the field. So that was pretty neat. Through his efforts, Chris was able to work with alumni students from 2018 to 2023 to support our current student council students in putting forth a wonderful event for everybody involved. He worked extensively with Mary Hahn, who is here tonight. She's the executive director of the New Mexico Association of Student Councils, and her years of experience allowed Chris to go to her, and she provided him with exceptional guidance as they planned for, set up, and engaged and completed this wonderful conference. As a result of this conference, Mr. Salas and the Rio Rancho High School Student Council were able to raise $2,000 for the Aaron Armijo Scholarship. Rio Rancho High School students who are lucky enough to be recipients of this scholarship can use this to pay for tuition and expenses at any four-year university or college, community college, or any trade school. They also raised $2,800 for the Tamayo Horse Rescue, whose mission is to bring a positive experience to unwanted or abandoned horses. This wouldn't have been possible without community support from Southwest Foods Excellence, from the Rio Rancho Educational Foundation, and from Campus Specialties and Herff Jones. When people ask me how my job is doing, my sister's a principal in northern New Mexico. I always tell her I was really lucky to inherit a very well-working campus. One of the things that really makes my campus special is I have great trust in this gentleman here. When he told me he wanted to follow through with this conference, I told him, go ahead. With every task that Chris is assigned to, or crazy ones like this that he volunteers for, I always have no stress because I know that this gentleman will put forth a great product when he dedicates himself to anything. He spent countless hours planning and working with these wonderful young adults, some of them represented here, to provide everyone with a really great experience. Rio Rancho High School Student Council students are also very lucky. They got to be involved in the hosting of a national conference. In the future, these students can look at this and be proud of this accomplishment and can use it as a reference for themselves and their capabilities to work as members of a team to complete an incredibly daunting task. Rio Rancho High School is a better place because Chris Salas is our activities director. He changes the feel of our campus every day by allowing student voices to be heard. This commendation is centered on his hosting of the Vision Conference, but this could be extended to his impact on the campus every single day. So thank you. Thank you.
Let's applaud really fast and then we'll. A couple of things first, Chris. I want you to know that whenever I'm at any activity that's happening at Rio Rancho, that as you walk by, crazy doing whatever, people are just like, oh, he's so good. Like he just does such a great job. And so I'm really grateful for all the things that you've done at Rio Rancho High School, and to both of you. I also am hoping that maybe you have a couple students who might be willing to come up and just talk about their experiences, or maybe one or two that wouldn't mind. Everyone's getting like, I would love to hear from them. And this comes because I know Gary Tripp will bug me later if I don't have you guys come up.
Yeah, we'll have Owen Andrews, and then Lucas Pancho.
We can take all three. if you
Okay,
want.
all three. And then our new student body president, Annika Garduni.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hello, I just wanted to thank you all for inviting us. I saw this opportunity presented by Mr. Salas, and I was so excited to come here. You guys can come up too. Come on. Don't be shy. Me personally, I wasn't like a host for Vision or a state guide. I went as a delegate, one of the 2 delegates from Rio Rancho, and I had fun on like the outskirts of it. I loved the experience. It was just so amazing seeing all these states come to one, as like our posses made it seem like we were family in a way, even though we've just met.
Adding on to that, it was a great experience and a great volunteering like opportunity all in all, and I was really happy to have worked it to represent both NASU and Key Club. And throughout the time, I saw a lot of happy faces, and it was just truly a remarkable experience getting to see people from all around the nation, and getting to see their different lifestyles and just all that collaborated, and it was just truly amazing.
I also want to say the reason why I really liked it, because I also wanted to meet people from meet new friends from all across the nation, and get to enjoy what their experience, what their in high school was, and in other states, and what I really like, because this is my first Vision conference, because this is my first student council year, so I wanted to do something like this because the reason why I wanted to do this, because Saul's believed in me, because he was looking for leadership, because he works really hard for stuff like this, and so is Devin, so is everyone associate students has worked real hard for this. So thank you to everyone. I really appreciate this, because this is representing my school, and then so I really just want to say thank you to everyone.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you. Board, did you want a chance? Gary, did you want a chance to say anything?
I think I know Mary Hahn, who's the executive director for the state of New Mexico. I was wondering if she wanted to address what student council is doing for the state of New Mexico. But I just want to say, Chris and Milan, wonderful, outstanding. Thank you.
I didn't see you back there.
Sorry, we have Gary on the side. He can see it.
What is Student Council doing for the state of New Mexico? We have 4 major events during the year. From here, coming up will be our fall district conferences. Then in early spring, February, we have state conference. And beginning of June, we have our summer leadership workshop, which 20 Rio Rancho High School students attended this year. And then, of course, our attendance at Vision Conference, not just here, but wherever it happens to be. NMASC has really grown. Our fall conferences last October. Around the state, we had 2,200 in attendance in 5 student council districts. At our state conference, we had 1,660 attend at Rio Grande High School. And summer workshop, Our cap is 300. We had 330. So their student council is wonderful growth, and it's due to adult leadership and support from administration and these amazing students that all are participating. So thank you all very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to say anything?
I just want to say thanks for your support. Thanks for your hard work. Appreciate that.
Thanks. And Jessica, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, congratulations for taking this on. Like you said, sometimes it's easy to say yes, but hard to do the work, and vice versa sometimes. So I'm glad that the students didn't let you say no, and that you guys had a successful conference. Congratulations.
Just want to add my congratulations to all of you, especially the support from the leadership at the school. But you are really giving a good example to these students of what leadership is. So appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Cleveland, anything?
I just, again, thank you. And when the group first came and I met with Renee Salcedo and then, we walked out and we said, there's no way we can say no. There's just no way. They were so persuasive and so excited about doing it. And we knew how much work it would be, but it just had such a wonderful outcome for our students and for our community and nationally. So again, just thank you for your hard work. And I really want to stress that to the students. Not everybody can pull something like this off. Not everyone can do it. And obviously you all had the leadership, but you also had the commitment and hard work to make it happen. And so I know that you're very proud of what you were able to accomplish.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you guys. Anything else you want to say before you sit down?
No, just thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for coming in.
A couple more. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Claudia actually ran all of our hospitality for advisors from all over the country, and many compliments to her. She works with us on the Crimson and Phoenix dinner every year, so I knew I could count on Claudia. And then also the transportation department. There were so many compliments from across the country, 29 states represented. They said your transportation department was fantastic, and they got everyone to the conference and back to the hotel safely every day. So appreciative of all of Rio Rancho Public Schools who pitched in for this.
How many students were there?
There was about 558 students and then 150 adults.
That's wonderful. That's awesome.
And Eagle Ridge attended, so it was nice to have some of our middle school students.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Okay. It's always nice having students here. Okay, we're going to go into our public comment for the evening. So we have no in-person public comment, correct, JC? Nothing else came in. So we have no in-person public comment. We did receive 6 on our public comment form. I'm going to go to those now. Once again, and I know I said this at our last meeting, but I want to make sure again, as these public comments come in on our form, I just summarize them. And so I want to invite those who would like to have more of a voice to please come into the boardroom if you want to give public comment and to have more of your comments known. Otherwise, we'll just summarize them here. So for those public comments, they're all in regards to Puesta del Sol. We received comments from Amanda Cervedra, Bonnie Martinson, Amy Henson, Adonis Frome, Quinn Holback, and Judy Vigil. All are in regards to that. We did receive from Adonis and I think also from Judy Jessica Vigil about that they're excited that we have a committee, and we're going to hear about that committee in just a little bit, that we have a committee, though they're still kind of concerned about some of the about what might happen to Puesta even with that. So with that, those are our public comments for this evening. And so please feel free to come into the boardroom and give your public comments, and also use our public comment form, which can be found on our webpage. Right. So going into our reports, we now have an update on our pre-K committee, and Janice Chenault, our elementary school improvement officer, and Jerry Reeder, our executive director of special services, will present. And please don't feel like you guys have to stay unless you want to.
So exciting though. Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. So last board meeting, you guys requested that we share who's on the committee and what the committee is going to be doing. So we wanted to provide a general outline, knowing that some of this could change depending how quickly we get through things. And so we're ready to move on. So Jerry and I will be co-chairing the committee, And with Beth Pendergrass's help, because she's done this, if we were to put some on the elementary sites, she would know what those expectations are. The following departments all have representation as well, since they all have a play into the success of the program. Communications, special services, curriculum and instruction, human resources. We will be discussing staffing and what that's going to look like. Facilities, student services. We have parent representation from Shining Stars, MLK, and Puesta. And staff representation from Puesta, Maggie Cordova, Enchanted Hills, Shining Stars, and MLK. The committee will be working on, I think it's really important to focus on, we spent an entire year last year really just talking about what we were going to do when the grant required us to go full day. That was the big discussion all last year. So we have all of those meetings and all that information collected. Now it sounds like we might have some flexibility to do full day or half day. And we decided to wait one more year, which was one of the committee's recommendation last year, just to make sure we could do a really good job. So as we move into this committee work, the focus really is going to be on what is the new pre-K grant that we're going to submit? What is it that we want to submit? So these are the requirements that we're really looking at. What is the best way to increase pre-K enrollment? I don't think there's anything that we found in research so far that says it's not a good idea to expand pre-K. So what is the best way for Rio Rancho to do that? What facility, location, or what will the expansion look like? And we've had multiple conversations about that this past year. And so now we're going to be narrowing that down even further. Do we look at full day? Do we look at continuing half day? What does that model look like? And what does the research say is best for kids? Again, looking at research from across the country and best practices for pre-K. I just attended a session this past week with a woman who presented her dissertation around around early literacy and what the best models are. So there's a lot of current research out there about what's happening across the country that we'll be able to pull in. Through communications, we are surveying elementary school parents to see how many of them would want a full day pre-K versus if they have children coming up versus a half day. And we've reached out to Beth Pendergrass has reached out to EAB to look at current pre-K models, what lessons have been learned and successes in pre-K programs. And then we will be asking the ECECD department to come and present to the committee and talk about what their focus is and their vision for early childhood and early child care in New Mexico and best practices. Our timeline, our first meeting will be in a little over a week, on August 7th. So we'll be focusing on understanding the requirements of the pre-K grant, the early learning indicators, which is the standards for pre-K, the current design and instruction at Shining Stars. I don't know how many people actually know unless you've been there about what Shining Stars is about. So we want to make sure the committee has a good understanding of that structure. And then having information from parents on half day or full day. When we talk about putting it on an elementary campus or keeping it in a center-based approach, it's really important for the committee to understand the different requirements for pre-K versus what's required at elementary, because that does create an additional administrative burden when you bring a program that's additional. I think we know from different conversations we've had. So we want everybody to understand what that looks like. Once everybody has a good understanding of Shining Stars, what the design is, one of the things that Jerry Reeder will focus on is child find and the 3Y aspect of Shining Stars and what happens when a child qualifies for an IEP and what that looks like. In September, our goal will be to really dig into the research, pre-K models. Hopefully by then we'll have our EAB research, some information from the PhD dissertation and articles that we've been reading and collecting just to understand what we're facing really as a country when students don't have access to pre-K and what are the other factors that are also important, because it's not just pre-K, there's so many other factors that have to come into play. And will we be considering any of that as we expand pre-K? For instance, a lot of districts do community schools or health clinics or parenting classes. Are we going to be doing things like that as well, besides just expanding pre-K? And socioeconomic status comes into that a lot. One of the things we want to do is take people to Shining Stars to actually see what's happening on the campus. I don't think you can really appreciate it until you're there and see what happens in the classroom with students of that age. It's very different. And so if you haven't experienced it, you really don't know. I think we have to have a really good understanding of what it is before we say where it goes. So we want to have people come visit the campus. And then, of course, if we can get somebody from ECECD in September, that would be ideal to give us more time to discuss that. In October, this is where we really want to come together and talk about the grant requirements and the different models and what we think we could do, and pair that with what does the facility need to look like? What are the facility requirements? Playgrounds have very different measurements for birth to 5-year-olds. You're thinking about cafeteria. Right now, we have a waiver not to provide lunch. We only provide snack, but we will have to provide lunch. So how are we going to provide lunch to the students? There are very specific instructional requirements for that age group. Classroom requirements. What else am I missing? IEP services. Every teacher at Shining Stars is required to write IEPs and implement IEPs. So really just a deep, deep understanding of what will be required, whether it's center-based or at a school site. And then, so food services we would like to have attend. This is where we'll bring in some more of the HR or some more of the district departments that may not be there in the first 2 meetings to really talk about what happens with staffing if we expand, if we go full day, if we go half day. And then we have been scheduled to provide an update at that point to you as a board as to where we are midway through the process. In November, we really have to nail down half day versus full day. That will be the biggest thing. So we've kind of seen everything. We've looked at different models. We've talked about facilities. We've talked about requirements. What does Rio Rancho want to recommend to the board as far as what we do? One option has been we could have some of it be half day and some of it be full day. Is that realistic? How does that impact transportation? That always is a big factor in what we do as well. So a lot of the research that we've been reading talks a lot about what happens before pre-K and what access the children have before pre-K. So pre-K for us is 4-year-olds, but we take 3-year-olds mainly for special education. We could put the 3-year-olds in our grant, but again, that changes what we do in the 3Y program at Shining Stars. So that's a whole nother conversation about, do we add that to our grant and what does that mean for where we put it and for transportation? And then how do these factors impact our decision? What role do the elementary school sites and facilities play in the grant process and the success of our program? In December, we'd like to finalize the committee recommendation or findings for the school board and make sure we have a good understanding of what the requirements will be, what resources we'll need, facilities, food services, and the length of the day, and then bring that presentation no later than January to the board for a final decision. The grant comes out the end of March, and then we have about a month to write the grant. So we want to have, if in January we present and you say go back, then we want to have enough time to go back and make sure we have what the board wants before the grant comes out in March. Did you want to add anything?
I don't have anything to
She did good. Thank you for presenting this. And in just a second, I'll give Dr. Cleveland if you want to add anything, and then we'll go to the board for questions. But I guess my hope as this committee moves forward, that wherever everyone sits right now on the matter, on whatever you might be thinking, whatever those thoughts are, is that everyone can just go into it very open-minded and to look at all the aspects of it. And so I really hope that takes place. I'm grateful that we have people from Puesta who are going to be there, and different members of the community, and from our district office and all those things. But I do hope that everyone can just really look at it objectively. As we look around the country, there's just so many changes that are taking place in public schools. And you see schools being closed just all over the place because it's just changed, right? We have charters and all these different things. And so it's not necessarily bad, but it is changing the way public schools look. And then as a student who attended Puesta as a young person, the old Puesta del Sol, of course, I have a great love for that school. And at the same time, like, that doesn't mean that we don't have a change there. And so I just hope, like I said, on both sides, and I hope that can really be brought up in those committees as we go into it. And I'm kind of saying it to you as a hope that maybe others are listening, that we can really be objective and just come up with really what's best for our schools and what's best for our community too as a whole. So Dr. Cleveland, do you want to add some things, and then we'll go to more questions from the board?
I just add a couple of quick things. You did a really good job. Thank you for covering all of that. I think you can see from this, we've got a lot to discuss. It's an extremely complicated issue. And one of the things that I want to be sure that the board is aware of is this does not flow through the SEG like other funding does. It's a grant. And so you have to put together a proposal, and the state has to accept that grant in order for you to be funded. So we have to be in compliance with the requirements of the grant, or we don't get any money. Whereas in K through 12, it's a direct formula. It just flows right through, and districts have more flexibility. One of the things that there is a movement right now to try to get the 3 and 4-year-old funding into the formula. And so we would not have to go through this grant application every year. But right now, the decision whether we get that money or don't get that money comes from the public ed department and the special ed department and the early childhood department. And so we're working for 3 really different entities, which makes it even, I think, a little more interesting. The other comment I would just make, just very briefly, at the meeting I was at this summer, and I'll be sharing that tomorrow a little bit with leadership, and they're going to be sharing all things they did this summer. There are many places across the country that are very close to having all of their 3 and 4-year-olds in programs. And so when we look at being competitive nationally related to student assessment scores and data, one of the things we have to take in consideration, there are states that already have their children in programs. And if you look at that, and on top of that, in terms of New Mexico, some of our kids come way behind to start with because we do have a very high poverty rate in some areas of the state. So it's an issue about not only our district, but the state. We're a little bit behind the curve in terms of where the rest of the country is regarding early childhood opportunities. But if we don't get caught up as a state, then we're always going to be behind. We're never going to be able to be competitive because our children are coming behind in the first place. And then they're going to be even more behind because those other states, other districts, other regions of the country have already made sure their children had access to that. So that's the challenge, not just for Rio Rancho Public Schools, but for the state of New Mexico. How do we give our students a fair shot at getting caught up and being ready for a kindergarten program?
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll start with the ladies. How about Jessica? You want to go ahead? Any questions, comments?
No, I mean, I definitely look forward to the committee digging deeper into finding some good options to propose to the board. I know it's been a stressor on the community, and it's something that the board doesn't take lightly, and we have to balance a lot of, pros and cons and make the decision for the community as a whole. So we look forward to seeing the committee's recommendations.
Beth, any questions?
Just to add my thank you for doing the plan. And I think you do have some probably difficult work ahead of you, but we are looking forward to hearing your recommendations. And I, again, agree we need to have the community have an open mind and think of our young folks and the best start that we can give them. Thank you.
Thanks. Jeff, any questions, comments?
I'm gonna let Gary go.
Okay, that's fine.
Because I think he ties in mind.
Okay.
Just a couple of thoughts, and one was, I don't know if anyone of us know the knowledge of the grant as far, or the philosophy of the state of New Mexico's 3 and 4-year-old program. And I don't know if I guess what I'm possibly recommending is, I wonder if a work session for the committee and the board who wants to go, to understand what the rules are, the game that we're playing under, because I keep thinking special education, and looking at Jerry now, and I think all these rules that we have to go by when we develop an educational plan of action for 3 and 4-year-olds, but we also have an educational plan for the elementary, and we're talking about elementary. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I know I'm clueless when it comes to the grant with the 3 and 4-year-olds. So I was just going to possibly suggest a work session for the committee and the board that wants to go, to have an understanding of what they're about, what you guys are about to tackle, which is, I think, enormous. And then the other thing, recommendation was, and this is just a recommendation, is that transportation director be part of the ongoing committee, because I'm sure with the transportation system, it's going to be a crazy situation for the transportation of how we get elementary and 3 or 4-year-olds wherever we're going to get them. So those are a couple of my just thoughts.
And Board Member Tripp, you're correct. We did invite transportation. I left them off of here, but we wouldn't let them off.
They need to be. She's like, I got it. Yeah, I think it might be a good one for the board to go over the grant. My concern is bringing the board and the committee together. I just don't want the committee to feel overwhelmed by having like the board kind of there, is maybe my thought. But I think, because I think you're going to go over all of that with the committee, but perhaps we have a separate thing where we kind of take some time to go over that grant more, if that would be okay. I don't know.
Well, and I think you said, right, Dr. Cleveland, that there was going to be a presentation to the board from some of the state PED early childhood members as well, correct? So they could probably include some of that overview.
National consultants that have been advising the public ed department, they've offered to try to help us get them here as well. So but we've got to get a date pretty quickly for them to see if they are available to come. But they have actually been part of the team advising the public ed and the special ed division under that, and the early childhood department as well.
That's good. All right, Jeff, you want to?
Well, thanks to Gary. I mean, I just want to get better understanding the ins and outs. So very good recommendation. And you're right. I know you're going to come back and make a presentation, but Mr. Baker's always made it clear to me that you want to always understand the scene stuff. And that's why I want to come to and sit in on the meeting to to come in and do a presentation. I could see it, but I want to understand the background work on that as well. So I love to sit in just to see what's going on. That's all right. Because I'm like Gary, I have no idea. Because I'm confused. That statement says, review the new pre-K grant for 24-25. I'm like, new, and we get ready to start the school year, so.
Yeah, Board Member Morgan, they change the grant a little bit every year. So every year they release a grant, but next year, 25-26, is the first year they're supposed to mandate full day, and they've pulled back from that. So now we don't really know what's going to happen in 25-26. So we're going to have to use the grant we have for this year to guide the work, because that's the only grant that we have.
Gotcha.
But it took me a while to understand all of it too.
Right.
There's a lot of and 3Y isn't part of the grant, 4Y is, but they all live on the same campus. So there are a lot of interests to it.
And that workshop that we did before we talked about all this, I remember you going over the grant as much as you could. And perhaps now that we have a little bit better of an understanding of it, it probably would help to just go over those things again. I know a lot of our funding and such is based off of all those things, which is what we're talking about. So anything else, Jeff? And then
No, thank you. Appreciate the work.
Good. Okay,
Looking
good.
forward to it.
Anything else?
Just one last quick thought, and that is, I want to be sure everyone understands 3-year-olds right now are special ed children with disabilities, and children, that qualify for services, some even a little younger, even 2.5 in a few cases, but generally that's, the state is still wanting to support that, but legally we're required to serve those children with disabilities at 3 years old. And from that point forward, the 4-year-old program is different. And I find in talking to people in the community, some think the 4-year-old program is all special ed. Right now, many of our children in the 4-year-old program, and the majority, are also children with disabilities. We have had in the past peer model programs, which we find are really helpful because children learn from each other as well as they learn from adults. What has happened over time, as the number of children with disabilities has grown, the number of peer models has shrunk dramatically. We're getting to the point where it's really hard to be able to continue with the peer model program. What the state is talking about now is making sure all 4-year-olds have access to quality programs. All 4-year-olds have an opportunity for pre-K experience, whether it's in the public schools or whether it's in the private sector or whatever. And so that's the conversation now. Many other states have universal open enrollment for all children at 4 years old who want it. Not all parents want it. It's parent choice. You're not required to do it. It's just out there. But we have a lot of families in Rio Rancho who would like that 4-year-old program access, particularly children who are not children with disabilities, but there is no room for them at this point. So it's a lot, you're right. It's a lot of variables, a lot of moving parts. And that's why it's going to take some time for us to discuss it and look at all of those aspects before we decide what's the best pathway forward for the district. So I just want to be sure people are clear with what we have to do, what we're doing now, and then what the discussion is about expansion. And the last comment is that a couple of years ago, the executive director of the LFC, who has studied pre-K a lot, has said two things about it. One, it's the one program that you can easily find the data that it pays for itself. It's a huge return on investment for kids. And the other is that we have the highest percentage of children not being served in the state of New Mexico. And that is because we have lacked space historically, not a desire to do it, but we've lacked some space to be able to do that. And the other big challenge, of course, is the lack of ancillary, lack of folks that are trained to work in that area, of real challenges in terms of finding the staffing, both for teaching and also for ancillary and other support.
All right. Well, thanks. I'm really actually curious as to what parents come back with the full day versus the half day. 3 of my 4 kids attended Shining Stars, and I can't imagine sending them for a full day, but I can see the positives for some families doing that. And my one kid didn't get in because it was too full. So that was actually really sad for our family, but. Yeah. And that's why I'm hoping that we can have some options. I think that would be really good. So anyway, I'm excited to hear how the committee goes, and hopefully we can maybe even get some little bit of progress updates as we go through, even just through your superintendent report or something like that. So, okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. We'll now go to approve the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Remember Jeff Morgan, I make a motion. Go ahead, Tyler. You want to go? I mean, you were gone the last time. You usually jump right on it, So go ahead. I'll give you that privilege. You sure? Board Member Jeff Morgan, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Board Member Miller, I second the motion.
All right. We have a motion by Jeff Morgan and a second by Beth Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, now going into our business, we're going to consider the approval of RFP number 2024-027-FAC-RRPS warehouse expansion. Michael Madrid, our Director of Finance and Chief Procurement Officer, will present.
Thank you, Board President. Galbraith, sorry. Superintendent Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. Before I get started with the presentation, I just want to bring your attention to a typo. Under the requested action, the RFP number should read 2024-027. So this procurement was initiated by the half of the Facilities Department.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, I think it's what we have on the thing. Do you see it different? Yeah.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
On my paper, it's different. Okay, so you're
Okay,
fine
good.
then. I was correcting myself on the
Well, I was
non-correction.
like, am I seeing it wrong? No, you're good.
Happens.
On the requested action, it says 024 or 027?
So we have 027
Yeah, it should
on the
be zero-
agenda.
On the agenda, it's correct. In our packet, it's incorrect on the memorandum.
Okay.
So everybody's right. How do you like that?
I do.
Everybody's right.
Yeah, we see it up there.
Apologize for the confusion.
That's
So
okay.
this solicitation was broken into 3 different categories as it relates to the scope of work. We did that because we weren't sure that we'd have sufficient funds. So part of the base bid, the scope of work includes the construction of a new record storage addition, interior renovations to the existing warehouse records room, relocation of the existing high-density storage units from the central office building and warehouse records room, and miscellaneous site and utility work. That constituted the base bid. Additive alternate 1 is a pre-engineering metal building, construction of a new pre-engineering building for maintenance and yard storage. Add alternate number 2 was the renovation of the legal department suites and tenant improvement of office suites. This was a qualification-based procurement. Has a little different point value from the ones that you've seen in the past. Qualifications of the contractor was 40 points, pricing was 60 points. Included with the superintendent's report to the board, I provided you the pricing for the base bid and the alternates. It turns out that the recommended vendor was the highest rank, but they were also the lowest bidder. If you can recall, at the last board meeting, we did a presentation for the same contractor to be awarded the new Independence High School. We kind of looked at possible issues with that, and we looked at the schedule. This project will be finished by February of 2025, which will be well before any construction activities on the new Independence High School will be constructed in August of 2026. So the new Independence High School, they're still doing the developing of specifications and all that value engineering that's part of the CMR process. This one, the scope of work and the design information was already provided, so we're ready to start construction upon executing a contract. Attached is the scoring matrix based on the evaluation committee's scoring. The district received 3 responses. We received responses from Enterprise Builders Corporation, Franken Construction, and Pluma LLC. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from the board? Do you guys have any questions?
I was just trying to the exact location. It says District Central Office Complex.
So I think it's the go ahead.
It's a couple locations. It's the warehouse that's just over here, I think it's just north of us. And it'll also include some renovations within the complex for the legal department.
Oh, really?
Everything's going to be here on this 500 laser campus.
Gary, do you have go ahead.
My question is the money's coming from different sources, kind of, because I don't know if it was part of our budget.
Patrick can probably answer that better than I could.
Yeah.
Thank you, President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. The budget for this project was actually budgeted last year and it was carried over into the new year. So the design process took a little bit longer than expected. And so as we finished up, we were entering the new fiscal year. And so that money was budgeted in the prior year and it was carried over.
Does that help, Gary? Do you have any other follow-up questions? Okay. Jeff, anything else? Did you have any other question? Dr. Cleveland?
No, I'm good, thanks. Thank you, as always.
Madam President, this is Board Member Tyler. I'd like to make a motion to approve the award for RFP number 2024-027-FAC for the Rio Rancho Public Schools warehouse expansion to Franken Construction Company Incorporated.
Board Member Jeff Morgan, I second.
Okay. And JC, can you take a roll call vote for us, please?
Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Tyler,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Miller,
Yes.
President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll now consider the approval of GSA for Medicaid School-Based Services Program for fiscal year 25 through 28. Jerry Reeder, our Executive Director.
Submit to you the government services agreement. And what I want to clear up is in the agreement, it says Rio Rancho Public Schools, we will not exceed claims over 8 million. I just want to let you know that 8 million is an inflated number created by them. We only receive about 1 million in administrative claims. So what happened one year is they didn't put a high enough ceiling, and then they had to go back and make amendments with all the district, and it took time. So now they just make it extraordinarily high, and so it's not what we receive. We receive about, for the 2023 school year, we received about 3.3 million in total. And for this past school year, we haven't received all our money yet because it's they've held back 2 payments because of the NOVA system up at the Public Education Department. So, but the General Services Agreement, basically they update this agreement every 3 years. It largely has remained the same. The biggest change is that inflated kind of bogus number that they use. And Sorry about that. The big changes are the Human Services Department is now changing to the Healthcare Authority. They also referred to a new guide that they're going to be giving to school districts. It's called Delivering Services in School-Based Settings. It's a comprehensive guide to Medicaid services and administrative claiming. The new Healthcare Authority will oversee claiming and facilitate reimbursement and provide training. And districts are agreeing to not engage in fraud, ensure that direct service claims are accurate and complete, maintain documentation for direct service and administrative claiming, and be prepared for periodic audits of our quarterly reports and our cost reports. And that we participate in the random moment time studies. So those studies are performed by all our ancillary providers. And really these time studies, that's what provides that 1 million portion of the administrative claiming, that we will comply with the IDEA and Medicaid requirements. And so those are basically, the bottom line is that the general services agreement, needs to get signed. And just in case you're thinking of holding on to it, from what I understand, we need to get it back to them next week, or then they blow up. they will not, they'll hold on to that extra money that they're holding on to a little bit longer. But that's all I have.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Gary, you have any questions?
No, I think Jerry, it's real important that we make a
motion on it. Yeah.
You better move fast, right?
Any other questions from anyone?
Oh, thank
This
you.
is Board Member Tyler. I'll make a motion to approve the GSA for Medicaid School-Based Services Program for fiscal years 2025 through 2028.
Gary Tripp, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jessica Tyler and a second by Gary Tripp. And JC, if you'll take a roll call vote for us, please.
Vice President Morgan?
Yes.
Secretary Tyler?
Yes.
Board Member Tripp?
Yes.
Board Member Miller?
Yes.
President Galbraith?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Did you want to add anything, Dr.
Yeah, I
Cleveland?
did. Jerry, would you mind to just very briefly tell the board what Medicaid pays for?
So
It's so important to this district.
Medicaid pays for really all of our nurses, but it doesn't pay for our nurse director. I think that's a change we had to make because as our salaries go up, it's able to pay less and less. It pays for some training and supplies for our ancillary services. I'm sorry, our ancillary providers at the school level, pays for some of the supplies for the nurses. And it pays for some of our other student costs that we have in the district.
This is important funding. We have just received some information about some funding. It looks like it might be up this year. But I also have this afternoon received a contract. And so we have not had a chance. I haven't had a chance to send that to Jerry or to send it to David or to Lauren's office to check out all the details of it. So we did receive something late this afternoon, and hopefully that's a contract. But I just wanted you to be aware of how important this funding is to our district. And we're very appreciative of having it. It looks like we might be seeing a little bit of an increase this year. So,
Good. Jerry, is there anything that we have to sign on that, or is that all through superintendent?
I think just Dr. Cleveland has
Okay,
to sign off on
perfect.
it, and maybe Lauren.
Okay, awesome. All right. Thank you. I think that's
Thank you.
all right. Thank you. All right. We'll now consider moving into executive session. I have a motion.
Do we have to read all of that out or no?
Oh, thank you. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Consider moving, you do it like how many years have I done this? And yet still consider moving into executive session. Okay. For the purpose of discussing limited personnel matters as permitted under section 10-15-1H2, the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically for the board and superintendent to discuss the superintendent's end of year 2023-24 evaluation.
Madam President, so moved.
Gary Tripp, second.
Okay. And JC, can you take a roll call vote for us?
Vice President Morgan?
Yes.
Secretary Tyler?
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Miller,
Yes.
President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. All right, we will now move. Everyone else
Jessica,
is
you didn't want to
dismissed.
read it?
I was like, I guess I could have done that for you.
You miss a week and you come back and it's like.
You miss a week, you come back, you always pay the price, right?
I actually had to like write down, like I just had the day. What is that word?
We took a nap.
Apologize, 'cause that's a long.
Oh my goodness, yeah, my eyes are crying.
Did you get it done?
We're all done.
That's all that matters.
Life is good.
You caught up on all your email, right?
I did.
Huh? Good. All right. We're reporting out from our executive session. So an executive session met for the purpose of discussing limited personnel matters, such as permitted under Section 10-15-1H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically for the board and the superintendent to discuss the superintendent's end of year 2023-24 evaluation. And then please just refer to your agenda for the dates that are coming up. Though, JC, can you put the August 1st on the board's calendar for me at some point? Thank you. And with that, our meeting for tonight is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.